Welcome into this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff with you. And we're making the transition from winter sports to those spring sports. And of course, one of those spring sports we love is out there on the diamond. And we're joined by head baseball coach Grant Middlebrooks now. Coach, how you doing? And are you guys already getting underway? Is some scrimmages happening?
Everything's going great. We're excited to get going. Our kids have been practicing since August, and so we're still in a lull time because even though you're scrimmaging and getting to face other people, it's still not season.
Yeah.
But it's been good. We've faced some good competition, and our kids have responded really well, and we're excited to get going.
When's that first official game?
March 2nd. Monday, we are at Evan North.
Yeah.
And then so our first home game is next Friday, March 6th against Bartlesville.
Yeah, and with that, you get into district play pretty quickly. I mean, when you kind of think about it, because you got the 7 other district teams. And as always, just the way the cookie crumbles in a tough district.
Absolutely. Well, you get to open up with Owasso. And, that's our first district series is a doubleheader at Owasso, which will be good for us. It'll be a good measuring stick.
Yeah.
We feel like we've been prepared and we're better this year than we have been, so it'll be a good measuring stick to see how we can handle it. And then we go on to Jinx, Broken Arrows, Sapulpa, and Stillwater as our next 5 district games, which will be good for us. I mean, we've been through the grind now. This is year 4. We return all the starters from last year, and a lot of these guys started as sophomores. And, once you get used to that level, you kind of are never surprised at what can happen. So now it's just our guys to go be prepared and play the right way and give ourselves chances to go win.
All right, you mentioned the winter sports wrapping up, and of course there's a few winter athletes that transition to baseball in the spring. Yeah. So you still just now getting guys, right?
Correct.
And getting them ready to go for baseball.
Correct. This year it's not as many, but this year we've got, Lance Arbona, who's been a big piece for us over the last 3 years. For year 4 here, he's going to be a 4-year starter when it's all said and done. He's getting back from wrestling a little early. Feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Glad for us.
Right.
I'm glad to have one of my guys here, but I mean, we always want our kids to go do well in their other sports. And then Noah Lewis is another one coming from wrestling, and then one freshman. So I don't have a lot of winter sport guys this year. I know in the past I have, but this year it's just the 3, and we've been, Lance has been throwing and hitting this year, which is a change. This year he's really kind of bought into that, making sure he's ready to go so he can step right in. So last night he came over in scrimmage, and he was ready to play third base. He started in his first game back, and this year we actually get him early, so maybe he'll be ready by Monday to go and take off. Normally we've had to wait a week because he's been in the state tournament for wrestling, but we're glad to have him.
Yeah. Well, you got everybody back, and one of the things I thought you got a little better at the end of last year, getting the ball in play, and that's kind of carried over to this year. And that's so important. You can't. We were talking about it off air. You get 21 outs. And if you're getting punched out 12 times and the ball's not even going in play, that just really you're not gonna be competitive.
Right.
And so far you've seen the bats going pretty good. So if you can get that to where you're just getting punched out 4 or 5 times a game, that's 6 to 7 more opportunities. Ball going in the field, putting pressure on defense, which is going to lead to base hits, and going to lead to runs.
Yeah. Well, the confidence side of things and the maturity you're seeing in a group right now that is, 3-year starters, 4-year starters, 2-year starters, and they've been through it. And you're seeing the confidence of being older and more mature. In years past, we've been starting freshmen and sophomores that, testosterone hadn't quite kicked in. They're facing 18-year-olds that are really good. And, like my first year here, the talent that we ran into that year was the best year that we've been through. It was Arkansas commits here, Arizona State commits here, Bixby had 5, Owasso had 5, and you're going through that monster with freshmen trying to go compete against those guys, and now those freshmen are my leaders, and they're seniors, and so what you're seeing is that growth in confidence, like, hey, we can hit, we're ready to go. Now it's going to come down to maturity, being willing to make adjustments to each arm that we face, being willing to sacrifice some time and some ego to just stay within ourselves, not try to do too much, not try to be too big. We talked about last night where we don't want to press at the plate. We want to push at the plate. If we press at the plate, we're squeezing everything tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter, and we're not letting everything go. But if we're pushing forward, we're staying with our process of what got us to where we're hitting now. Pressing starts limiting us.
Yeah, right.
And we don't want to limit ourselves. We want to go and be really good hitters and have fun.
Well, that leads us to the defensive side of the ball, and it starts at the mound. You got your guys back pitching, and that's always good as well. And half the battle is getting over the plate.
Yes.
And baseball, unlike softball, where you can have one pitcher in softball and you can dominate, baseball, you're going to have usually 3 good starting pitchers if you want to compete. And you feel like you're pretty good at that right now.
Well, last year we sat here and said, well, remember the Detroit Tigers? I think we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, right.
Johnny Holstaff, and then my guys just ripped it up to shreds, and we stuck with some guys. And this year, I think that, we're returning our 3 big inning eaters. Ace threw 53 innings last year, Isaiah threw 48, and then Lance threw 40.
Yeah.
And so, really, you're pretty happy with that. I'm hoping that I don't have to use Ace for 53 innings again.
Right.
I would like him to be around that 44, 45 mark. But he likes to pitch and go compete in the zone. And so, but now what we're going to see is Callan Covey as our close guy for districts, because the last 2 nights he's been a close guy, 3-out guy, and dominate well. And when we faced Edmond Santa Fe, he came in for 3 innings and shut him down.
Yeah.
He's not a start guy. We need him defensively, but as a reliever, he's pretty stinking good. He's a 2-pitch mix guy. And then we've got Joey Smith, who's a big donkey righty. He's a junior. And if we can get him to figure out that he is good enough and that confidence factor, he could be special.
Well,
he's really good. And then 2 freshmen that are going to eat some innings up for us this week on the weekends, too.
And that's the thing is, like, you have the 3 base guys that can give you your starts, brunt of the innings. But you got the closer. You feel comfortable with that.
Yes.
But you're going to need a couple of guys that can step in relief. And if you can get those guys to step up and don't have to be perfect, but give you 2 or 3 good innings, that makes a big difference.
Those young pups, the juniors and the freshmen, and then I even have a sophomore that I'm really excited about, are going to give us a chance in May.
Yeah.
Right now, they're going to grow. And we're going to go through those growing pains from March and April.
Yeah.
But late April, early May, when regionals come around, they're going to give us some valuable depth pieces, because you know how it is when you get into a regional and it's double elimination and you feel like you don't have the arms to go out there on those day 2s.
Yep.
You put yourself in a bind. And so every year we've had 3 guys that we can trust to go out there and go through strikes, maybe a 4th guy, hopefully. But you're relying on dudes to go 7 innings.
Right. And
then, if you lose game 1, it takes 5 to get in.
Right. And if a guy goes 4 innings, but he starts to struggle and he's already burned his arm, you know what I'm saying? You all of a sudden don't have that guy for the next day, but you had to get him out of there, so you lost innings. And, so you really need that contingent. Like you said, the 3 starters, they eat up most of the innings, you hope, and then you have 2 or 3 relievers. And if you have a closer on top of that, that's great.
It's going to be huge. And so we got to be able to do a good job developing these young guys and giving them opportunities on the weekends to prove why or why not, even if maybe they struggle.
Yeah.
Because they're only going to be better. Because, like we've talked about, everybody returned from last year's team, but guess what? Next year's team, you're losing everybody except for 1 or 2.
Right.
So those guys have to get innings so they're prepared for the next season even to go be the guys you want.
Yeah.
So it's just about making sure that we are taking care and developing them well and not put them in too many situations that we hurt the confidence.
Right. And, also to mention, we talk about pitching. Part of that's getting over the plate, not giving free bases. But, and doesn't matter how good a pitcher you are, and especially the districts and 6A baseball, there's guys that can hit the ball. And so now that's only half the equation. Your defense has to be good. You can't. You got to make sure you close out plays and everything. And that's something, talking to you, you've been excited about so far. Pretty decent defensively, right?
That's been our thing. I mean, in 3 years, our thing has always been pitching and defense, and then we hope we hit. And this year, I think we know the pitching and defense is going to be there. Last night, our offense wasn't there, but we still found a way to pitch and play defense and win a ball game compared to how it's been in the past. So I feel like defensively we're one of the better teams in the state of Oklahoma. I really do. And because we return so much, and then now we're adding depth pieces as well, where we might have some guys go out there and be able to go defensive replacement innings, or now this guy might be more of an offensive guy this year, so we're going to take him out in the 5th, 6th, 7th and give this guy an opportunity to go throw some people out and catch fly balls because he's a little bit better defensively, and let's protect that lead.
Yeah.
We have those pieces now compared to where we haven't in the past.
Sometimes it can be harder on a coach because you're trying to figure out when you want to make that substitution, right?
It's definitely going to test me for sure. And just one thing I was talking, Coach Freeman a lot. He's helping us out this year for junior high baseball, and so he's there a lot, and he's imparting a lot of wisdom on me. And us as a coach staff, we're just sitting there talking and laughing. I said our main job as coaches this year is managing egos and making sure everybody stays engaged. Because you might not get to play today, but we might need you later.
Yeah.
And you have to stay engaged, even if you get benched or whatever. And so, how are we going to make that work in a time of emotions? Let's just say to the least, And so we've got enough defensive pieces. I've got several guys that are really, really good defensively, but they struggle at the plate. Well, if you swing it, we got to find a spot for you,
right? And
we got to try to hide you somewhere, and so we go from there.
But you bring up the depth and having all those guys, competition and practice, that helps tremendously as well.
Yes.
And we talk about with other sports sometimes, but the same with baseball. When you can almost get enough guys to say, "Hey, we're just going to do a 9-on-9. Let's get out there and play." That iron sharpens that iron a little bit, right?
So, and that's been the thing for us is the leadership aspect. Our kids have really, they've pushed themselves all fall. It was we finished every practice with competitive something, whether it's machine scrimmage, whether it's some type of deal where we finish practice every day with some type of competitive nature because we're trying to build that iron sharpens iron. Where we don't always have all the depth in the world, where we don't always have, there's nobody to push this guy, there's nobody necessarily to push this guy, but when you put them in that competition factor, now all of a sudden the light will come on, where I think that this year I've seen a lot of our seniors take that seriously, because,
I better figure it out or I'm not going to play.
The losing, and that was the thing, the losing team had to run.
Yeah.
And the winning team got to choose the running. So you might not like the punishment that they chose, and we had several disagreements to say the least. But it's been good for us in that way to build that competitive nature, and now we're starting to put it together, and our kids are really thriving and taking a little bit of leadership, taking some ownership.
All right, next week the season starts, so get out there and support. Not this Friday, next Friday if you can, for Ponca City Baseball, and of course the season officially will start before that. Scrimmages have been going on. We'll see what the weather is. In March you're always going to be dodging some raindrops. I know they're already got some stuff maybe moving in. Yep. It's like we had the best February possible to go play with no rain.
Absolutely.
And now it's going to rain probably every game day in March,
That's always
right?
how it works. You're always going to pay. You're always going to pay for the winter you had.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a warm winter, that spring's going to be really cold and wet.
Yeah. So, but keep those guys engaged, and let's see if we can't get some wins rack up, and once we get to May, make something special happen.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun year. Come out, support us.
Coach, really appreciate it. Coach Grant Middlebrooks, thanks to Chris, as always, back behind the camera. And that's going to do it for this episode of Coach's Corner. Jordan Woodruff saying until next time, go Cats.